Customer service, what is it good for? Absolutely everything. Hello and welcome to the Birmingham Hippodrome and how we look after a 2-year refurbishment which began in 1999, costing over £35 million. So the original building was actually built in 1901, where we opened as a circus arena. And then through many years of open and close, we then closed in 1999 because we started to look a little cramped and a little dated. And we were replaced with a sleek and modern design. And it's lovely, isn't it? The building reopened in 2001 with a gala presentation, but it was a disaster after that. We had a sleek, new, gorgeous building, but staff didn't know what they were doing. Customers weren't returning, and those who were returning were greeted by staff that really weren't sure of what they were doing themselves. So all the promise and the expectations of a gorgeous new Birmingham Hippodrome, it all seemed doomed. So why did it all go wrong? Why was nobody coming back? The customers weren't returning, so I was brought in with 20 years customer service experience to try and resolve that. And I knew that I needed to start with the customers. So I encouraged customers to complain. I wanted to hear from them, and not just what was going right, but also what was going wrong, so we could do something about it. And so the complaints came in thick and fast, but I knew what the problems were. I knew how to start resolving them, and one of my main priorities was to try and sort out the staffing. So the staffing in the new building were still unaware of what was going on. There were still building works that were still incomplete, and so we had to resolve these as soon as possible. So we looked back to how we could get staff to come into us. So we introduced an assessment day, and those assessment days were brilliant for us. We wanted to recruit staff that knew what theatre was about. It wasn't just a job for them. We wanted them to come and work at the Hippodrome and be proud of our venue. So we introduced the assessment days, which was including a team building exercise, a group exercise, a group discussion, and then a short interview afterwards. These worked so well for us, and we knew within the first 5 minutes who we wanted to work for us out of that assessment day. But these staff were also working and applying for other roles at other venues within the city. So word got out there about the assessment days and what they involved. And within time, 4 other venues within the city came and sat in on one of our assessment days. And then that soon formed part of their recruitment campaign as well. And they looked at the same assessment days as what we did. And again, the feedback was incredible. So once the recruitment process had started and they were successful in getting that job role, they then came in for 8 training shifts. And the 8 training shifts worked really well. And we gave them a buddy. Now the buddy was already an existing member of the Hippodrome staff, but to give them a little bit of pride, a little bit of involvement of these new starters. And it could be their buddy, so if they've got any questions, any problems, anything at all, that their buddy will be able to help them. This gave the staff that were there a little bit more emphasis on ensuring that the high standard of customer service that we were expecting was then delivered, and if not, to feed back to us as a duty management team what was going right, but also what was going wrong. And to ensure that the teams that were here had got a record of the training that they completed, we then gave them a training folder. This training folder was then theirs to keep forever. And also when they moved on from us at the Hippodrome, if they wanted to take that on to future employers, they could take it with them. So they went through all sorts of training, not only customer service, disability awareness, licensing laws, etc. So we produced an in-house certificate for them to take with them and keep in that folder. So once we'd got that, we then needed to work about a company induction to make sure that everybody was having the same training. It wasn't just about me and my front of house team. We needed to ensure that our security team, our ticket sales team, our bar staff, our restaurant staff were all getting the same training. So we wrote a company induction, and we now make it compulsory for everybody to go through that compulsory training to make sure that everybody knows what is happening, everybody knows what is expected from them, but also, most importantly, everybody goes on that training from a casual members team to a new full-time members team to our chief executive. And that was what was really important to us, to ensure that we had the right team working for us. So we increased the amount of full-time staff that we had. We knew the customers that then started to return liked being recognised by staff, liked seeing the same familiar faces on the auditorium doors, on the programme desk, working behind the bars. So we increased the full-time team. We also had a budget for staff, but once we needed to ensure that everybody was in and trained up, we got volunteers to be fantastic advocates for the Hippodrome, to work alongside the team to enhance the customer service that was already being delivered. And we also included all of that training for our external cleaning company to make sure that everybody that works for the theatre went through that training. So we were starting to get the right team. We were starting to get the right staff. They were cross-trained in different departments so they could help each other, and it was all starting to feel a little bit more welcoming, and we were starting to get things right. But we didn't just want to stand still. We wanted to improve, we wanted to make things better, and we wanted to achieve a higher level of customer service. So with this, we wrote some customer service standards, and we wanted to look at the journey of a patron coming to see a show. So some of these things may have been out of our control. For example, the local car park. We don't have any car parking, but the car park that we do recommend, had they got right lighting levels? Was the signage correct? Was the signage to get to the Hippodrome in the city centre correct? Was it up to date? Was the lighting levels around the city itself okay? Was the pavements outside the theatre, were they accessible for people with disabilities? So all these things we took into consideration, and we went around the city trying to improve and look at the customer's journey. So once we did that, we felt that it would enhance a customer experience. It would make an excellent reputation for the Hippodrome. It would increase customer spending. Hopefully more frequent visits. People were starting to come back not just to see one show, we were getting to see regular faces. Less complaint handling. Birmingham as a destination. People were starting to come and use Birmingham as a destination, and better recruitment profile for all of the staff that were working for us. It didn't only just make us feel better, it made the team feel better, knowing that the new Hippodrome was starting to be a huge success. So when we were then ready to be externally audited, I wanted to get some of my colleagues from other venues around the city to help me with this. So I went knocking on their door, asking the other venues locally if they would help me. And this was a great success for us, because we wanted to work with those other venues to see if they were having some of the same problems that we were and how they achieved it as well. So with the other 8 venues throughout the city, we got together, and we still do this now. Twice a year we get together to discuss problems, issues, shows and things that are happening within the city, and we communicate between ourselves. It's a great forum for us all to share information, and it was great for me to know that it wasn't just us at the Hippodrome that had customer complaints, had issues, but we can all knock on each other's door or email each other to say, hi, we've got this customer query, how would you deal with this? So we could share information between ourselves. The forum meetings were incredible, and we all get so much from these. So we actually then went out to the other big venues in the UK as well. So twice a year, again, 8 of the big venues within the UK get together, and we discuss lots of information. And especially because lots of us share the same shows, so we can email each other. If it's a big drinking audience, we know to stock up. If they're big on buying programmes, to order to make sure we don't run out. If there's been complaints, for example, if we've got a play and the cast aren't wearing microphones, we can then pre-warn people and put that information on our website. But also running times of performances, just to confirm that they are the right times. So these meetings were absolutely essential, and they normally follow the format of we go to the venue the night before, watch one of their performances, meet their teams there, have a tour of the building. Then the next day, there's a structured agenda that we follow through and talk through the different elements of shows, problems, issues, spend per head, costs, etc. Within 1 year after attending one of these meetings and discussion about cost price, etc., I was able to save the Hippodrome £30,000 in 1 year, just because I was able to go to those meetings and discuss pricing. It was a great success and we will always keep doing these. So let me get back to the Birmingham audit. What did we do there? So we came up with some customer skills and knowledge about what we wanted them to be audited on. We wanted to make sure that the audit was measurable and tangible. So it was things that we wanted to be audited to make sure that we were getting things right. Because it wasn't worth me going round with the questionnaire to say, okay, let me tick to make sure people are in the right positions on the right time and they know the show finishing time. I got one of my colleagues from another venue to do this for me because they knew exactly what I was looking for. So we gave them lots of questions of a questionnaire to ensure that they were able to ask those points from any member of the team within the Hippodrome. If a member of staff got it right, we got a +1. If they didn't, we got a -1. And the -1s could be things as well, not just if they got the question right or not, it would be, have they got a name badge on? If they haven't, we got a point deducted from that. In the early days, we were getting scores of 50, 60% in these audits. I was so proud of the team. The one that we had about 3 months ago now, we got 93% in our last audit. It was incredible. I was over the moon. But again, I still need to get there and make sure we get 100%. But again, it gives me an aim to work towards. We fed back to the teams why we got the 93% and just work with them to ensure that they know their responsibilities to get that 100% mark. So with social media being a big aspect of what we all do nowadays, we wanted to make sure that we kept on top of these things. We wanted to make sure that if anybody had got a written complaint, either by letter or by email, any newspaper articles or letters, verbally to family or friends, on our company website, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube or TripAdvisor, our marketing team are now dedicated to checking those every 2 hours now. So if something comes through on one of those social medias, we can deal with it straight away. We were so pleased in 2013, we got 4.5 marks out of 5 by TripAdvisor, and we got 92% of a thumbs up as well. But we didn't just want to think that we were getting things right. We still continue with the audits now to make sure that everything is going correctly. With social media, with Facebook, with complaints, etc. now, with technology as it is, with smartphones, people can post things from a complaint onto one of those social medias within minutes now. So we had to keep up with technology and make sure we were going forward. So if anybody did complain, if anybody did have a problem, if anybody did make any comments regarding the show, we worked very well with our ticket sales team and found out those customers' information, and we could then include that onto their Tessitura booking. So maintaining the service level standards, we wanted to maintain those levels. We wanted to maintain everything and make sure that things went well. So every 6 months, we compulsorily now make all of our hospitality and service team come into a training session. They love these, they're great, and we're about to hold one next week for the team. And this is to give them lots of information about the company, keep them updated to what's happening in the theatre, but also we train them in other departments, a little bit like speed dating. So some of the front of house team will go work behind the bar, some of the bars team will work in the restaurant, some of the restaurant team will then show how to meet and greet in the auditorium and show how to seat people in there. They've all found this so useful and so different to any normal training sessions, but included in there, we also look at specific information such as disability awareness training, licensing laws and measures, so we make it very show specific to the forthcoming programmes that we have coming up. We also include in there our product knowledge, so from time to time things changes, so we need to make sure all of the team know about our product knowledge. And the nice thing with that was, we know that then audience members who are coming back, that's our gorgeous auditorium, absolutely chock-a-block full for one of our shows. And the feedback we were starting to get was incredible. People loved coming back to the Birmingham Hippodrome. We were getting very successful shows on the main stage. But it wasn't just about the shows on the main stage. That's the Mary Kay conference a couple of years ago. We also became a big venue for hospitality. So there's a picture of our auditorium empty, which isn't very often, but it does look absolutely gorgeous. And everything speaks, everything in detail. So we wanted to make sure that every part of the visit is captured, whether that be the lock on the toilet door is broken, to the temperature of the auditorium to make sure that when the customer contacts a member of staff, they were aware of their needs. So the process, it was the small things that we can do to make a big difference. Customer service begins and starts with a smile. Thank you for listening.